just for the information of the majority leader, yung appearance of the House prosecutors before the Senate, kanina sanang 4 o'clock, June 2, appeared in the impeachment calendar prepared by the Senate President. Hindi ako may idea nun. At saka, when we read our Senate impeachment rules, wala din dun yun.
So they will
That's
be
why-
appearing
that's why-
before an impeachment court.
That's why this is the request for information. Now, what did the Senate President have in mind when he scheduled this for June 2? And I think it's clearly, since 4 p.m. siya, it's clearly an appearance before Senate,
Yes.
the plenary session of the Senate.
Again, the basis
Yes.
is US practice. That is how they do it in the United States, where we lifted portions of our own impeachment rules. That's where it came from. Practice and precedents in the United States.
And per our legislative rules, we can waive the rules so that we
can
allow
suspend the
non-members
rules to allow
speak.
it.
Di ba dito, recently nagsalita rin si former UN Secretary
Korean,
General.
South Korean.
Huh?
The South Korean.
Yes, that's UN Secretary General. So
That can be
so we
allowed.
can do it. Yes, yes.
Again, that can be allowed. Again, plenary action is necessary and the plenary will decide on this matter.
So just a few more requests for information, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, His Honor, around 4 days ago, sent notice that the June 2, 4 p.m. appearance of the panel of prosecutors will be moved to June 11, 4 p.m.
Yes.
So, okay. Now, what is now the calendar that His Honor has in mind? Kasi dati meron kang June 2, 4 p.m. appearance, then June 3, morning, we convene the Senate as an impeachment court. So where is that? Where is this convening now? Where is it now when you move the appearance to June 11?
Sabay na po, because by that time, by June 11, wala na rin po tayong hinahabol na kailangan i-second or i-approve kung meron man, ratification na lamang ng mga bicameral conference committee reports. And we will be doing both at the same time. If at all, the reading of the articles of impeachment, the referral to the Committee on Rules, the convening of the impeachment court, if at all again, the oath of the senator judges, if at all again, all that we can do as an impeachment court would be to issue summons.
Yes, yes. Oh,
Requiring the respondent to answer within 10 days.
but were we sent notices na ganun ang mangyayari?
I'm sorry?
Were the senators sent notices or informed that after the appearance of the House panel of prosecutors, there's a possibility that we will convene as a court? Para ready kami.
Wala pa.
Wala pa nga po. Kaya
Wala
malapit
pa.
na po yung June 11.
Wala pa naman talaga eh. Kasi nung pinadala yung notice na yan, it was addressed, if you notice, it was addressed to the House that they will be presenting the articles of impeachment on that date. The notice insofar as the impeachment court itself is concerned, these discussions would be very helpful, Your Honor, because this will be part of how the Senate as a body will be deciding on what to do after the articles of impeachment shall have been read and presented before the body.
Yes, but Mr. President, nung in-issue kasi ninyo yung impeachment calendar last February, at least you were that detailed na sinabi nyo na po yung convening of the impeachment court. Ngayon sana po, nung i-defer si June to appearance, sana pati po yung convening as an impeachment court, nasabi na rin when that is para may idea.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to clarify. Since that is our last day, this representation has no intentions of actually convening the court, if at all, on another date other than the 11th, unless the Senate as an impeachment court provides otherwise. So we will be convening on that date, barring any unforeseen circumstances, barring any procedural motions that will be made and will be settled by the plenary at that time.
Well, Mr. President, it was just, ito lang for the consumption of our staff and secretariat. It was just pointed out to me that the rule that we mentioned earlier, second paragraph of Rule 3, yung first paragraph pala, it provides that nakapag-oath na. Nakapag-oath na ang member. So if that is now the dividing line, we have crossed the line. So, Senate na po ito as a court. So, tingnan na lang po muli, Mr. President.
Mr. President, Your Honor, the first paragraph refers to consideration of the articles of impeachment. The second paragraph, we were not part of the Senate that wrote these rules. The first paragraph, it mentions the word consideration. The second paragraph mentions the word presentation. In terms of time, presentation should come first before consideration, although as it appears in our rules, consideration was mentioned first in the first paragraph and before presentation in the second paragraph. But in terms of order, Your Honor, presentation should logically come first before
Okay.
consideration of the articles of impeachment.
And then
Where
in
there
the,
is nothing to consider unless presented.
and then in the next breath, it talks about the trial na.
Yes, again, we had no part in writing these rules.
Okay,
I
so
would not be
yes,
want to
yes.
critique it as well because during those times, perhaps this was apt and sufficient.
So, okay, so Mr. President, maybe now, kasi ang media nagtatatanong sa akin, pinapa-speculate pa ako na,
Apa.
just for the record, what is now the reason that His Honor has taken the initiative to reset the June 2, 2025, 4 p.m. appearance of the panel of prosecutors before the Senate plenary to June 11, 4 p.m.? What's
It was in the
main
letter
reason, Mr.
addressed to
President?
Speaker Martin, copy furnished to all of the senators as well as Vice President Sara Duterte. Given the meeting we had at LEDAC with His Honor's presence, several bills needed to be approved and taken up before we finally finish and wind up the 19th Congress. Meaning to say some bills need to be approved on second reading within the week today, so that we can do third reading next week. Some bills have to be approved on third reading today and within this week, so that bicameral conference committees can finalize and iron out the disagreeing provisions between the Senate and House versions, so that we would still have time next week to either ratify these bicameral conference committee reports or still do third reading in compliance with the constitutional requirement of 3 readings on 3 separate days, at least 3 days after it's approved on second reading.
So, sige, last question na lang, Mr.
Apa.
President. Per our rules or practice, how would we now react to the receipt of the articles of impeachment last February 5, 2025? How should the Senate, as a legislative body in plenary session, react to that receipt?
In line with Article 1 of our impeachment rules, which makes mention of the authority and responsibility of the President of the Senate. That is why I set the schedule for the articles to be read in plenary, which in turn would trigger, if at all, the creation of the impeachment court, which, if at all, would now proceed with the issuance of summons for the respondent or defendant.
Would not the impeachment complaint received last February 5, 2025 be included in the reference of business? Ano ito? Ito ba ay? Ito ba ay person?
It will be included in the reference of business, yes. Supposedly today, kung natuloy tayo today, but on June 11, so that it can be included in the agenda for that particular day.
That's my point, Mr. President. Kung i-reference of business, why are we not doing it today? Anong damage kung gawin natin today?
Pwede rin naman. Hindi pa tayo
Yes.
nagbabasa ng reference
Yes,
of
yun na nga.
business. Pero wala, no?
Are we doing it today? Kasi February 5 pa yun. That's why I'm mentioning the date that it was received, February 5. So can we include it in the reference of business today? Kasi parang mas normal eh. Mas normal yun eh. Kung
We will look into it, Your Honor. I tend to agree with this Honor's position.
It's
We
just
will
no-
take it up with the Secretary.
It's just normal, Mr.
Yes,
President.
yes.
Received last February 5, we're reporting out today. Okay?
Off the record, they explained the reason behind it. But I tend to agree with Your Honor, and I'll ask the Secretary to consider it. Because in the past, as they said, it was the majority leader who read it and not the prosecutors, supposedly. So it was included in the reference of business, referred to the Rules Committee, and the majority leader was the one who reported it out, quote unquote. But now, given that it's the prosecutors that will read the articles of impeachment, again, following US practice and precedent, the Secretary thought it best that it'll be included in the agenda on that day because there is no referral to the Committee on Rules. But again, we will look into it and we will take the suggestion of the gentleman in light of the points he raised in connection with that.
Because I believe there should have been also a letter accompanying the impeachment complaint. There must have been a cover letter from the House. So, para ganon. So we can...
Only by the section, not by the Speaker nor any member of the House.
Yes. But is a letter from the SecGen also a communication from the House?
It was a covering letter only.
Yeah. So I think this is just an opinion.
I tend to agree, Your Honor.
It's more natural that we report out if something happened last February 5, late evening of late in the session on February 5. Something happened, we report it out so it's more natural if we report it out immediately, Mr. President. So
I tend to agree,
that's
Your
all-
Honor.
That's
Again,
my point, Mr. President.
I will take it up with the committee secretary.
So with that, Mr. President, I thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I just wanted to request some information. Thank you, Mr.